A sunny afternoon in East London and a minor parking dispute led to a man returning with a machine gun in a terrifying attack on what was just a normal day, until suddenly, nothing was normal any longer. We pick up the story today in Forest Gate, East London in 2003. On August the 29th, 20-year-old Ayub Khan had been attending Friday prayers at a nearby mosque. When he parked his dark blue Volkswagen Golf, he had blocked a road, as did two men who were joining him for prayers in their green Honda Civic car. Not long afterwards, 52-year-old Amarjit Singh Tawana and his nephew, 25-year-old Rajinder Singh Tawana, were driving to the family hotel that they owned in Forest Gate, the Forest View Hotel in Romford Road. Unable to access the back of their hotel as Khan and the other vehicle had blocked their access, they parked their van across, blocking in Khan's vehicle and the green Honda Civic. They then went inside the hotel where they had lunch with some family members. At around 2 p.m, the drivers of the two cars in the road who'd been for prayers found they could not now get out due to the van blocking the road, and they began sounding their horns. Amarjit came out of the hotel and moved the van, following which the two men in the Honda Civic drove off. But Khan, unfortunately, wasn't like your average member of society. With previous convictions for robbery and possession of crack cocaine, he had an ego which made Piers Morgan look like a shrinking violet. He immediately got out of his car and started arguing with Amarjit and Rajinder. He was shouting, "Look at what you've done to my car," pointing to it, as if it had been damaged, which it hadn't. Now, Khan was a big, intimidating unit, and he wasn't slow to use his physical size to his advantage, pushing towards the slightly built Rajinder, pushing him in the chest as if he wanted to start something. He wanted to start a fight. When Amarjit simply tried to explain what had happened and how it was nothing of any consequence, Khan replied, "I don't give a damn," and he repeatedly shouted, "Shut up," to the other man, getting really heated. Eventually, Khan did get in his car and he drove away. But that wasn't the end of it for Khan, as with his reputation, he felt almost untouchable, even at just 20 years old. About 10 minutes later at 2:20 p.m, Khan and the other men he'd been with at the mosque returned, and they started causing damage to the hotel van, which had blocked the road. Amarjit and Rajinder just couldn't believe what they were seeing, and these men were taking their retaliation after just what was a minor incident that they'd handled with tact and they thought diplomacy, and so they just ran out of the hotel again to reason with them. What they didn't know was in the 10 minutes that Khan had been away, he'd gone to get a submachine gun capable of firing 1,000 rounds a minute, and he didn't hesitate to use it, quickly firing off 10 rounds. And moments later, Amarjit Singh Tawana and his nephew Rajinder lay dead, covered in blood, in the middle of the summer afternoon outside their own hotel where they'd been so many times before. Khan had also tried to shoot Amarjit's daughter, but the gun had jammed, sparing her life. Then there were those short seconds of silence we often see after extreme violence, almost as if the world had stopped at the horror that just occurred. The men then fled with hoods pulled over their faces, and soon the emergency services were racing to the scene. Detectives were just utterly horrified at the violence used in a normal suburban street in the middle of the day. With help from witnesses, Ayub Khan was very quickly identified as the prime suspect, and the police took the unusual step of naming him, as well as offering a £10,000 reward for information leading to his conviction. But it was too late. Soon after the murder, like the coward he was, Khan had fled the country to Pakistan. So in February 2004, Amarjit's daughter made a direct appeal for information. Speaking for the first time since the double murder, she claimed that someone in the local Muslim community was withholding vital information that could finally bring the killer to justice. She said, "I had no idea that day while we were inside having lunch that in 5 minutes they would both be dead. My father and I were so close. He was my best friend. We are a tight-knit family. We live together and we work together. I haven't been back to the hotel since it happened. I'm too scared, in case they come after me because I'm a witness. I want to appeal to the mosque, to the people who are praying there that Friday to come forward with any information. There's no way that people praying in the mosque don't know who he is and where he's hiding. Every day they stay silent. These people are choosing to keep the killer free and no one is safe. Looking at his picture, who she'd identified as the murderer she said of Khan, I will never forget the face of the man who murdered my father. Ayub Khan was added to the Met Police's most wanted list, but for the next 6 years the trail agonisingly went cold. Meanwhile, detectives discovered through mobile phone evidence that after leaving the scene, Khan repeatedly phoned another man, 20-year-old Abu Bakr Mansur Khan. Now, if this name sounds familiar to you, it was because this market stall holder was jailed for 6 years after plotting to hunt down and kill a decorated British soldier. When his flat had been searched, Special Branch found a blank firing gun in the process of being converted to fire live rounds. There was also a scrap of paper with the name of Corporal Mark Biles and the word hero, as well as just the most horrendous collection of DVDs showing murderous acts. In court, it was said that he had the address of Corporal Biles with the intention of killing him or doing him significant harm after reading press coverage of his actions in Iraq. Abu Bakr Mansur Khan was arrested in September 2003 about the 2 murders that we're talking about today, but he was released and he was never charged in relation to the incident. So why had Khan called him repeatedly straight after the shooting? Was it because he knew that this man had the contacts to help him run away to Pakistan and evade justice? This appears to be the most likely reason for the contact between the two. The big factor that worried detectives in this case was how a pretty low-level criminal like Khan had been able to access such a nasty piece of weaponry as the MAC-10 gun used in the murders. They discovered that the same weapon had been used in another shooting that year in Coventry. Had Khan bought the gun, and if so, for what purpose? Then almost 7 years after the murder, a breakthrough. Khan was still in Pakistan, and he travelled to Bangladesh to visit a friend of his in the city of Soweto. I think that's how you pronounce it. His details popped up on the Bangladeshi police system, and Khan was arrested at Dhaka airport, flying back to Pakistan. He was pulled aside and taken into custody, and British detectives arranged for him to be extradited back to the UK, which duly happened 2 months later. And Ayub Khan was then able to face justice when he was tried for the double murder and 1 count of attempted murder, for which Khan, as you may expect, he pleaded not guilty. The jury weren't buying it, and at Woolwich Crown Court, he was found unanimously guilty of the double murder and jailed for a minimum of 26 years. There was audible weeping in the public gallery as the judge described the killings as brutal, cold-blooded and pointless. Amarjit's brother, Gurdeep, told BBC London that the family was just devastated. Amarjit and Rajinder were the pillars of my family, with lots of loving memories. Amarjit was a great brother, a great family member, and Rajinder was also a very respectful, loving person. After the trial, Detective Inspector Andrew Yeats of the Homicide and Serious Crime Command said, "We are still seeking the 2 casually dressed Asian men wearing hooded tops in their late teens or early 20s. They ran away from the scene during the busy period after Friday prayers, turned right into Norwich Road, across Romford Road, and continued south in Marbury Park Road where they got into a parked vehicle. The MAC-10 machine pistol is yet to be recovered. I would appeal for anyone with any information on the 2 outstanding suspects or the murder weapon to come forward and assist my team with the ongoing investigation. But so far, there have been no further arrests. If you can help this case, please contact Crime Stoppers directly." So there we have it, a most shocking story. To me, it's made worse by the fact that Khan had been at prayer 20 minutes before murdering 2 men in cold blood during a summer afternoon. And also by the fact that by driving away, he'd had time to cool off and make an informed decision on his actions. And yet he still felt it was okay to come back and gun down 2 strangers with no gang connections for a minor traffic violation, pointlessly taking 2 lives and ruining so many others. Thank you for watching today. I hope you found this video of interest. If so, please do watch one of my others. Until next time, I've been Adam Lloyd.